come to Dubai to bring you an exclusive on the Majesty 145. It's the second largest boat they've ever built and one of the biggest GRP boats on the market. And I'll tell you, it is absolutely packed with features. 2 pools, 6 cabins, a sauna and a gym, all comes as standard. Is this the most bang for your buck you can get in this sector? Let's find out. I'm Jack Haines, you're watching YachtBuyer. How many bucks are we actually talking about here then? Well, this boat, which is hull number 1, came in at 22.7 million US dollars. A lot of money, no question, but not as much as you would pay for a metal yacht built by one of the major European manufacturers. And it's quite remarkable that they've managed to integrate all of those amenities and 6 ensuite cabins into 420 gross tons. The 145 has a length overall of 45.3 metres with a beam of just under 8.1 metres. The draft is a whisker under 2.3 metres, and I'll explain the importance of that later on in the video. The boat was still going through the final stages of commissioning at the time of filming, so if you see the odd piece of tape here and there, that's why. Let's start the tour then, beginning at the stern. If you want to make sure you don't miss exclusives like this, hit subscribe and the bell icon. You'll be notified every time we upload a new video, sea trial or tour. Right, let's crack on. Right, down here on the aft deck, well, this is where a lot of the innovation on this model comes into play. So as standard, you get this pool. I'm going to talk about the pool more in a moment. As an option here, you can have a beach club / tender garage. So a big door that opens up to store a 5-metre tender. You can also fill that with furniture, somewhere shady and air conditioned that's right by the waterline. And in that, guys, the balconies come down to water level. So you have a big sort of walk around area. This version is slightly different. It's more of a terrace because it's centered around this really rather fabulous pool. You know what? It's 38 degrees. I'm going to get the feet in. Socks off. Don't worry, won't go any further than socks, don't get too excited, but it's actually too hot and they haven't even heated it. That's like a bath, just the power of the sun. But this is a really good sized tub. Jets, of course, so you can get the bubbles going and it drains into a tank and comes up again when you want to use it. And really nicely finished too. I love that you can see through the transom out over the water. But it's more than just a pool back here because we've got the terraces. And actually, that's where I want to be today, because you just pick up some of the breeze. So these drop down on both sides. They come up to about here when they're up, but I really like they've incorporated these seats too, because I think whether you're stationary or cruising along, this will be a place where you want to sit. I'm getting some breeze. I can see the wake pouring out from under the transom. And if people are in the tub, you can still talk to them, but you're not getting your feet wet. Very nice. Practical stuff here. Of course, someone's got to drive this thing. So the skipper has got a control station down here. There are a few more of these dotted around the boat, as we'll see during the tour. But if you're stern to, this is probably the place you want to be because you can turn if you've got a fantastic view of the bathing platform. Then forward, they want, well, everyone says this now, don't they? They want everything to feel like a villa. But this is quite villa-esque, this really comfy, low-slung seating, which is really well shaded by this massive overhang, but that then connects to your pool, and that connects to the sea. So this is going to be a place on a hot day where people want to be. That combination of access to the water, the tub, and somewhere where you can chill out in the shade. It works really well. But of course, this is really flexible, this furniture, semi-custom. If you want to change the look and feel, you can do it. But I think this kind of low-slung beach club style works very nicely indeed. Over there's a very subtle staircase up to Brigde, but before we go up there, we're going to pop up the portside deck and go to the foredeck. There's symmetrical access on both sides up to the foredeck, and there are wing stations on both sides as well. So whichever side to the skipper is manoeuvring, they've got a wing station with all the repeater controls they need to make that manoeuvre. And then we come to a very large foredeck. And a lot of this area here is dedicated to seating. I don't really understand this table because, as far as I can tell, it's fixed. It's very large, but it's very low, and it's very close to this end. So it's quite hard to get around that side of it. I may be missing something, but it's still a very big space, and nice that it pushes up against the windscreen so you have a little bit of shade. Of course, you can put some poles in sockets there, and there, and have a nice canopy here to provide even more shade. But I have to say, on a hot but breezy day, this is a pretty nice place to be. Now, if you don't have the Beach Club version where you stow a tender, this is where the tender is going to live. So your crane here, £3,500 crane, 5-metre tender will sit here, maybe a jet ski next to it, just launch on and off using the crane. Right forward, mooring gear, twin anchor winches, and I always like when they put a little bit of a perch here, because this is a really nice place to sit. When you're pushing along, waves peeling off the hull, sitting back and admiring the view of the yacht from the bow is a really nice thing to do. That is that we're heading to the sun deck bell. Let's go. The sun deck is another big space on board the 145. We're going to start right forward at the bar, and it's a substantial bar as well, split across 2 sections, so there's loads of room for cooling space, sink, big grill behind me. The only thing I would say, for a boat built in the Gulf, the black stone tops, maybe not the best idea. They are already very, very hot. It's a bit cooler up here on the marble. And then you move into the shade of the hardtop, and I really like these 2 seating areas. Identical, really sociable, low slung, just invite you to sit down with a nice drink and cool off. You really catch the breeze up here, of course. Yes, it's a sun deck, but plenty of breeze flying around, so it's a really nice temperature here. And this is just a place where you're going to crash out in the day. It's absolutely lovely. And here's a clever piece of design. There are doors about halfway along, so these slide together and meet there, because if the breeze is really strong, but you want to dine up here, it's going to be nice. You can seal off this section from the wind. Incidentally, there's a bathroom just there, storage in there, and nice that you've got a proper dining table up here on the sun deck. Not always the case, but as I said, in hot climates, this may be where you want to dine because it's nice and cool. And of course, we come to the main event really up here on the sun deck. The second hot tub infinity pool looking right out over the back of the boat, nice and high. I don't think this is even heated at the moment, but oh yeah, the sun is doing the job. That is a lovely temperature, fringed by these sun pads. This is a place where guests are really going to want to hang out. Let's head down to the bridge deck. More often than not though, this is where guests will be dining, not only because it is better protected from the elements, but it's easier for the crew to serve as well, because there's no dumbwaiter or anything up to the sun deck. And then as well as that lovely big shady dining area, which has got the lovely ceiling detail where you've got a mix of wood and stainless steel just to brighten it up a bit, you've got this open space back here, which you can do with whatever you want really. Maybe some sun loungers, because it does catch the sun really nicely, but a nice place to come and chill out after dinner. And this is also a great place to have a look at what's going on down there on the party deck. You're looking down to one pool and up to another and going, ah yes, that's why I bought the 145. It's got 2 pools on board. The deck spaces then have a lot to offer. Let's see what the interior has in store. And what it has in store is fantastic air conditioning. You can bet that a boat built in these parts is not going to mess around when it comes to the aircon. It is lovely and cool in here. And this is a really large sky lounge. Bear in mind, there's only so much time you can spend on deck in these conditions. It's 38 degrees here in the shade. So popping in to cool off is something owners of these boats, if they're kept in this area, are going to do regularly. And this is a really inviting space, probably more designed for the evening really, because it's a bit cozier, but it's very spacious. Lovely big sofas opposite a very nice big TV as well. The light coming in here from these windows is really impressive. They are enormous, and there's so much floor space. Arguably, they could do with a bit more furniture down there just to help take up the space. So you have got that nice little table over there in the corner. And this is a feature we've seen before on Golf Crafts, and it's really nice because the bar is a proper bar. I mean, look at the size of it. It goes all the way back there. You've got a full-size freezer over there. Dishwasher down here. It's somewhere the crew can really, well, knock up more than cocktails. It's a really good space, and it makes it feel very sociable. No doubt the owner will be back here holding court now and then, and what a great view they've got. This perspective, this aspect is really fantastic. It's a lovely space to be. Opposite, we have another good demonstration of the sort of customization that you can get with Golf Crafts. quite, I don't need to tell you what this space is being used for, but I suspect if you didn't want a gym, you could probably have this as a study or even another cabin. I mean, look at the size of it. You have wardrobes up there, so you could potentially have 7 guest cabins on board, and this might be the pick of the bunch considering where it is. But even so, nice gym space, plenty of floor space here, TV on the wall as well, fantastic views out while you're working out. Another impressive addition. Right forward, we come to the bridge. Before we get to the bridge itself, there's some storage up here, mainly for crew use. There is a day head on this deck. There's a day head on every deck, which is always very nice. And this staircase obviously links us down to main deck, where we're going to head after this. And then through this doorway, we arrive at the bridge itself. And it's quite a space, this cathedral-like ceiling heights. And what's nice is you've got the mix of the leaning post right in the middle behind the wheel, but then 2 really comfortable Bezens-only, fully adjustable chairs, and a little bench behind as well, so crew and maybe passengers can come and enjoy the ride from up here, because the view is fantastic. These screens are huge. You're quite a long way forward, so your view out over the bow is very good. And the view of the screens is excellent too. 4 big screens popping out of the dash, and you can see the usual mix of data you'd expect on a yacht like this between radar, navigation, systems of course, and then cameras covering the boat. So from this central position, the skipper has got a really good overall sense of what's going on the boat. Pair of throttles here, wheel, thruster controls, all quite familiar stuff. Of course, the berthing is probably going to be done from the aft cockpit in that wing station down there, or there are 2 up here as well. So plenty of options when it comes to slow speed manoeuvring for the skipper. Well, what about higher speeds? Well, she'll top out at 22 knots, thanks to a pair of 2,400 horsepower MTUs, and at about sort of 11, 12 knots, she's going to cover around 4,000 nautical miles. So really impressive transatlantic range. But the interesting thing about this boat, she's got quite a shallow draft, 2.2 meters, something like that. So if you want to go to the Bahamas, she's slightly shallower than, say, a steel counterpart, which means if you want to get to those shallower draft areas, this could be the yacht for you. Back here, also, you have a captain's cabin. So we're going to get to the crew spaces. They're pretty impressive, but nice that the captain has their own double cabin up here, right next to the bridge. Let's head downstairs. Right, we're on the main deck now in this kind of central lobby area. Behind me is the galley, and that goes through to a crew space. We're going to look at all of that later on. Forward here, we have the owner's cabin, and then after this space is the main deck saloon. And this staircase here obviously leads down to the lower deck. But let's start by going to the saloon. The first thing I'm greeted by from this end of the saloon is this really quite striking 12-person dining area. The table is huge and topped with marble, and there's a really nice lighting piece directly above that. Lots and lots of natural light in here. The windows are huge. So when you're on these sofas, these lovely squishy curved sofas, your views out are fantastic. But if you'd rather not look at nature and prefer to watch TV, there's a very big one in here, 65 inches, that pops up from this section and then drops down again when it's not in use. And I think this is an area, this main saloon, where you really feel Christian Gatto's got into his stride. This is somebody who's designed the interiors for Haines. He did the 84-metre fed ship Savannah, so there's real pedigree there, and it does feel a step up from the golf crafts that I've been on before. It's things like this. This is quite a nautical detail. It looks like a porthole, but it's not. It's a mirror with some nice lighting around it. And talking of lighting, I really like this detail here, where you have these wooden uprights. They then disappear up in this panel, you've got lighting underneath, and you have the same effect throughout this deck too. It's all very nice, subtle bits and bobs that just make a big difference to how the whole thing feels. Right, let's get into the owner's cabin. In this passageway, there's a side door out onto the starboard side deck. There's a day head here too, so that's just after the owner's cabin, and really convenient for guests to come in on the main deck and use the facilities. And then right forward, we get to the good stuff, the owner's cabin itself. And it's quite a space, this owner's cabin here forward on the main deck. First things first, look at that desk and the view from it. It is absolutely spectacular. It's more than just a desk as well. It's also a little bureau, you've got a mirror, storage for your jewellery, but if you do need to sit down and fire off some emails, that's a pretty nice place to do it. And the cabin just gets better and better. You haven't got a walk-in wardrobe as such, but you can walk behind the bed and in front of an entire wall of storage. This is all really nicely done with the sort of backlit panelling on the doors there. And walking around the bed gives you a sense of just how large it is. Right in the middle of the cabin, you can move all the way around. There's a little change of flooring here as well. As you get close to the bed, it turns to carpet. So as you move into bed, you've got a nice soft surface underneath your feet. And we've got a balcony as well. And it's nice to have those balconies that drop down. There's a lot of theatre with that. But It's also nice that that is always there. Very simple mechanism. The owner can just push the button, these doors slide open, and then you're out onto the balcony. Really nice feature. And even when that's closed, if the wind's howling in, you still get the view. So that's really well done. Big TV up here on the wall, and we're seeing a similar sort of theme to elsewhere on this deck, but I really like the mix of, you know, the paneling and the wood and the lighting too. It all brings it together very nice, and it continues inside the bathroom. Another massively impressive space. This is an infrared sauna. That actually comes as standard. That would so often be a cost option. Normally you have separate toilets in these bathrooms, but to have an infrared sauna in here is really nice. Look at the size of the shower. I'm going to go in it. Look at the size of the shower. It's a twin shower with truly massive rainfall shower heads, and then separate ones here, a bit of storage that's also lit, and this is all really nicely done. And then opposite that, great big sink unit, crystal basins. It's really nice. This is a really good example of how they've sort of upped the feeling of luxury and the fit and finish on board this model. Let's see if it continues downstairs with the guest accommodation. Now it's here on the lower deck where the accommodation gets quite interesting, because usually on a yacht of this size you'd expect to have 4 cabins, or with their own bathrooms. This one actually has 5. Identical VIPs behind me, a pair of twins and another double right forward, but we're going to start with the VIPs. They are exactly the same, so we're just going to show you this port side one, but you have an identical one just the other side of this wall. And these are really nice spaces. Firstly, really bright. You've got big hull windows, so there's loads of natural light. I've got a fantastic view at water level from the bed in here as well. And like upstairs, it's a nice light colour palette, so you don't need loads of artificial lighting to make this space feel bright. Good floor space around the double bed too. You've got a bureau over there with a decent sized television above it. Storage is very good. Arranged here behind these rather nifty doors, which are quite San Lorenzo-esque, and it's nice that you pick up this detail that we've seen throughout the interior upstairs as well. Really nice bedside tables. I really like the lighting too, and there's lots of auto lighting throughout these interiors, so as you walk into spaces the lights come on and you don't need to fiddle around with the switches. We've got charging down here, a little drawer for a bit of extra storage, reading light, all that lovely stuff. And well, the bathrooms are equally impressive. Impressive because of the space, but also because of the finish. We've got the fluting that we've seen upstairs. That's also picked up underneath the marble sink. There's space for 2 sinks, but they've only put 1. I'd argue that maybe having a couple would be nice, considering you have the space to do it, but storage is good, and there's mirrors directly above the sink as well. And I really like this finish here they've got up on the walls. Also, like underlighting behind this cabinet, it really does feel quite elevated compared to a lot of the golf crafts we've seen previously. And I talk about the space, and that extends to the shower cubicle. I mean, look at this. It's vast. Equally nicely finished. It's got a little bench that sort of floats over the floor, so you can sit down, shower, and take in what is still a pretty lovely view. Let's carry on. What's impressive is that they've fitted 5 cabins down here, and this lobby area doesn't feel squeezed at all. In fact, there's lots of space down here, and arguably they could do a bit more with it. You've got this shelving here, storage on both sides. Well, I would put in a coffee machine and somewhere you can store snacks, maybe even a fridge down here, so that in the middle of these guest spaces, guests have somewhere where they can serve themselves without bothering the crew. On either side we have big storage for linens for the crew to use, and then we arrive at the twin cabins. Like the VIPs, these 2 cabins are pretty much identical, apart from this one has the addition of a Pullman. So if having 6 cabins on board wasn't quite enough, they managed to squeeze in another berth that just flips up against the cabin side if you don't want to use it. But again, the flexibility of this thing, if you're considering buying a yacht for charter this size, it really doesn't get much better this in terms of the options. And these are nice cabins. The twins, though singles, are a good size, nice comfortable beds, good amount of room in between them to move down when you're getting in and out of bed. And again, they've thought about natural light. That is a nice big hull window that makes this space nice and bright. But possibly most impressive of all is the size of the bathroom. Because I would say this bathroom is about 25% larger than I expect on a twin cabin on a yacht of this size. It's a really impressive space and feels really pretty similar to those bathrooms in the VIP. Of course, decor-wise it's exactly the same, but you still have the nice big sink unit. You've got loads of storage above, and crucially, that attention on natural light, loads of light pouring in here, and you've still got that lovely waterline view even when you're here in the loo. And still space for a lovely separate shower cubicle, and we'll just look at the size of the range shower head as well. It's really impressive stuff, and there's still one more guest cabin left to see. And it's this forward double that feels like a bit of a bonus. You expect to see 2 doubles and 2 twins on a yacht like this, but voila, another double. And I like what they've done with the bed here, how the bed head is kind of framed by this window, and you'll probably see now what I'm talking about when it comes to the views. Wherever you are, you're in touch with the water. Head heights are still really good, and you're back to another nice big double bed, but there's plenty of space around it. Similar design when it comes to the bedside tables. You've got your sockets and lighting controls, these nice pop-out reading lights too. Big bureau in here. Obviously it's missing a chair, but there's a chair that goes here so you can sit and do your makeup and store your jewellery very safely underneath the TV. And again, a very nice big bathroom. And I'm going into the bathroom, so I just want to make the point, the size of these. They have got 5 cabins down here, that big lobby, and not one space feels compromised. It's a really impressive case of packaging, and it's the same with the crew accommodation because that's split forward in half too. So let's go and have a look. It's a good chance just to pop the deck plan up and show you where we are. So this doorway just here, the bottom of those stairs is where we started this section. We've got the galley forward of us. This is a side door out onto the port side deck, and all of the crew spaces are aligned on the port side. So there's separation between guest and crew all the way down this side of the boat. And then we come to the galley, and this for me is another massively impressive area on board this boat. This is much bigger than I'd expect on a 140, and as standard you get a full stainless steel kitchen. This particular owner and their crew wanted a bit of a contrast with these white panels, which isn't a bad idea. It does look nice, but it's the sheer amount of space in here is so impressive. You've got a whole wall of cooling over there, and there's even more cooling downstairs, as we'll see in a moment, and importantly, loads of counter space. If you think you could be prepping food for 12 guests and the crew on top, you need space where you can put plates, you can prep, you've got a nice big hob. I like the fact that the pass is also connected to a little section here, so there's an extra area for the shoes to align the plates when they're serving out, and it is separated here by a sliding door. And then you've got a little pantry here where you've got the wine fridge, a coffee machine built in, another sink, a dishwasher. So I'd say for a boat of this size and style, this is a particularly impressive galley installation. And actually throughout the crew spaces we're about to see, Gulfcraft really look after the people that run the boat. Let's carry on downstairs. And this forward is one of 2 crew areas that you get on board this boat. So forward here, it's still being fitted out. As I said, this is absolutely brand new out of the factory, but this will be a laundry area. That's what all of this structure up here is for. You've got somewhere here to fold and sort the clothes. Still a good view out though. A big sink down here. And there is a cabin in this area. There's a double with a private bathroom, and having them separated means that you can split crew by gender if you want to. If there's a couple on board, they could have this end, everybody else has the other end. Remember, the captain has their own space up on the bridge. But this is massively impressive, having a proper walk-in fridge, and there's another door and you have a walk-in freezer. Just not the sort of facilities you expect on a yacht like this. And it carries on further aft with the other bit of a crew accommodation. Let's go there. As I just said, all crew accommodation is accessed down the port side, and the other half of the crew space is via this door on the port side deck, as is the engine room. Now this feels more familiar crew quarters, doesn't it? We've got the mess down here, this table that opens up as so you can make it a little bit larger. Fridge and freezer over on this side. Obviously this mess is a long way from the galley, so they've got pretty decent galley facilities of their own, including a sink and a microwave up there, storage, coffee machine, all that sort of stuff. That's through the engine room. We're going to go there in a moment. And then there are 3 double bunk cabins in this area. And when I say look after crew, this is really quite spacious for the size of boat. I know it may not look enormous, but trust me, in the context of this sector, this is really good. And you have 3 of these down here. Nice pair of bunks. Again, they haven't got some pokey little porthole. There's a decent window up there. It's super cool in here. Air conditioning's really strong down in the crew spaces. And then separate bathrooms, which are big enough to have their own separate shower cubicles. It's really, really well thought out. And as you just saw, this area also connects directly to the engine room. I've toured a few big Gulfcrafts now, and their engineering has always impressed me, and this one's no different. I mean, look at the size of the engines, you know, 2,500 MTUs, 40,000 litres of fuel on board, but even so, there's still plenty of space between them and around them. Head clearance for me at 6 foot is good throughout this space, and the ancillary equipment has good space too. 2 large generators, obviously they're boxed up, silenced, but getting to them and all around them and getting to the access panels is really easy. You've got water treatment down there, water maker, spot zero as well, so the crew can wash the boat down, it doesn't leave any watermarks, and it's running fin stabilizers. We've been on anchor for this entire shoot and the boat has not moved a muscle, so those fins that are active at rest are clearly doing a good job, and they work when the boat's on the move as well. So really impressive space. I get that the idea of value for money when you're spending tens of millions of dollars on a yacht is probably a bit of a daft concept, but surely even if you are able to buy this, you want to know you're getting as much boat as possible, and that is exactly what this offers. Sure, the fine detailing isn't as good as an Azimuth or a San Lorenzo or a Princess, but you simply aren't paying that much money, and it's not because you're getting less. In fact, you're getting more than a lot of those brands. All those cabins, none of which feel compromised. 2 hot tubs, multi-decks, and the sort of amenities as standard that you'd expect to pay extra for with other brands. It's a really impressive feat, and they've wrapped it up in a bow that now looks really nice. With every big model that Gulfcraft brings out, they improve, and I think the other manufacturers should be looking pretty closely at them. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching that tour of the Gulfcraft Majesty 145. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give the video a like if you did, and if you've not done so by this point, you've waited this long, you may as well hit subscribe. We've got loads of Superyacht content on the channel for you. We'll put those up there. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jack Haines. This is YachtBuyer.